Phileas Fogg was not born with the mathematical rigidity that characterizes him in Jules Verne's novel. Young Phileas was the son of a Liverpool watchmaker, Henry Fogg, whose workshop enjoyed a reputation for excellence. His mother, Elizabeth, was the daughter of a merchant marine captain who had brought back exotic objects and extraordinary tales from his travels. In his father's back shop, young Phileas learned at an early age about precision, patience, and the inestimable value of the passage of time. But it was in the attic of the family home, among his maternal grandfather's memorabilia, that he nourished his imagination, yellowed nautical charts, compasses, sextants, and logbooks detailing stopovers around the world. At 12, Phileas knew the time zones of all the major cities by heart and could recite the main maritime trade routes without hesitation. His room is covered with maps and train and ocean liner timetables. As days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, Phileas works tirelessly at the watch shop, helping his parents with repairs and sales. Every free moment he has is spent studying maps, discovering different cultures, and practicing foreign language sentences. Despite his young age, Phileas is determined to achieve his dream, saving every penny, putting money aside in a small wooden chest hidden under his bed. His friends tease him for his thriftiness and his incessant conversations about faraway lands, but Phileas pays no attention. He knows his passion for travel will take him to places his friends can only dream of. At 16, Phileas decides to take action. Without telling his parents, he gathered his savings, borrowed his father's silver watch and his grandfather's sextant, and embarked as a cook's assistant on a merchant ship bound for the Indies. "I will return before you even notice I'm gone," he wrote in his farewell letter. "I will prove that the world is smaller than we think." But the reality of the voyage proved to be quite different from his dreams. A terrible storm surprised them in the Bay of Biscay. Young Phileas, sick as ever, believed his time had come. The ship, badly damaged, had to turn back to England. A humiliated Phileas returned to Liverpool 3 weeks later, to find his mother worried sick and his father silent with disappointment. The silver watch had been lost in the storm, and the sextant damaged. "You wanted to defy time and space, Phileas," his father told him that evening. "But you weren't ready. The world demands preparation, method, and rigor." These words had a profound impact on the young man. In the years that followed, Phileas transformed himself. He studied diligently, mathematics, geography, languages, and navigation. He became obsessed with precision and planning. At 20, he inherited a modest sum from a distant uncle and invested it with calculated prudence. By 25, his investments had paid off, allowing him to settle in London. There, he frequented the Reform Club, listening to travelers' tales without ever mentioning his own failed attempt. Every day of his London life now followed an unchanging schedule. He seemed to have given up on adventure, content to travel vicariously through the newspapers he meticulously read. But secretly, every evening, he works on a large leather-bound notebook, recording itineraries, timetables, connections, and increasingly precise calculations on the possibility of traveling around the world in record time. Contrary to what Jules Verne recounts, Phileas Fogg and Jean Passepartout had already crossed paths before the events of the novel. The meeting took place at a party at the French embassy in London, where Passepartout was temporarily working as a maitre d'hôtel. Fogg, invited to a diplomatic dinner, noticed the extraordinary dexterity of this Frenchman, who served with the precision of a watchmaker. At the end of the evening, Passepartout found Fogg contemplating a large world map in the library. "Does monsieur calculate distances?" asked Passepartout. "I calculate possibilities," replied Fogg without turning around. What followed was a surprising conversation, in which Passepartout revealed his past as a street performer, a gym teacher, a firefighter sergeant, always on the move, always searching for balance. "I've been around the world 3 times, sir," confided Passepartout, "but never in a straight line, always zigzagging, at the whim of fate." "Fate doesn't exist," replied Fogg. "There are only miscalculated timetables and missed connections." They parted that evening, never imagining their paths would cross again. But Fogg noted the name of this Frenchman in his little notebook. The years passed. Fogg continued his well-ordered life, but deep down, he still harbored that youthful ambition, to prove that the world could be circumscribed in record time, with sufficient method and precision. He lacked two things, a compelling motivation and a reliable companion. The bet he made at the Reform Club would provide the first. And as for the companion, he knows exactly who he needs. It's no coincidence that, a few days before the famous bet, he fired his valet over a question about the temperature of the shaving water. He was looking for an excuse to hire this multi-talented Frenchman he had met years earlier. When Jean Passepartout shows up at his door that fateful morning, Phileas Fogg sees it as confirmation that the time has come. All those years of meticulous preparation will finally come to fruition. The Around the World in 80 Days can begin.